Hi Chris, how are you?
Hi Rod, yes I'm well. Here we are, it's episode 229. It's the 14th of June and it's overcast, which is a shame.
It is. It started out quite sunny here this morning, but the mist rolling in from the sea or it clouded over or whatever it did.
No, same here. So yeah, sadly I'd like a little bit more sun though because I'm going to go and cook outside when we finish this.
Oh, you're barbecuing.
Yep. Fire pitting. I like a bit of fire pit cooking.
Wow. That's very manly.
I've got like a thing that goes on top of the fire pit so you can cook above it like a grill. So it's quite cool.
Very, very manly, Chris. I have nothing of that. I've got, people may be able to see in the background, I've got a very small, what do you call it? Oh, my brain's just gone blank. Little oven you put on the countertop. Air fryer. Ooh. That's what I've got, an air fryer. Yeah.
We have one of those too.
Yeah, on that very sort of senior moment, shall we do some follow-up?
Yeah, let's do the follow-up. So what we're going to talk about first?
So first up, we have Apple's version of the Windows subsystem for Linux, which they are calling possibly the worst name in the world. Do you know what Windows subsystem for Linux is?
Not really. I've heard about it, and I feel like I am deficient in really actually understanding it.
Right, okay. So Windows subsystem for Linux will let you, as a Windows user, install basically Linux virtual machines, effectively virtual machines. They're containers inside of your Windows environment. So if you want to run Ubuntu or Red Hat or any of those kinds of things, you can actually run a terminal version of Linux underneath there, so you can do development on it. So if you're a web dev and you want to build, a server that's based on Linux, you can actually install all the stuff.
So you can replicate like your live environment as a dev Linux box container on your Windows development PC. Makes sense?
Exactly. So for a long time, Linux people have been taking this as a sign that Windows is less evil than they used to be because they're actively supporting it. However, it's embracing extend, extinguish probably in action. It also, should you be a Windows user, lets you actually have a proper terminal because we all know that the command prompt is not a proper terminal. So well done, Windows users, you've got that. And you and I have talked about Docker, we've talked about containers, there's LXC, there's all manner of sort of very light virtualization type things where you can have containers, virtual machine. They're not virtual machines. They're like virtual machines installed on your computer, so you can do things. It doesn't actually affect your install. It's really quite a smart way of doing things, and they're all very lightweight. Anyway, Apple announced this last year at WWDC, and it kind of went under the radar a little bit, but now they're sort of embracing it a little bit more. I think it's a bit unfair of the register to call it Windows subsystem for Linux. I'd just call it containerization. But Apple have called it the worst thing possible. It's called container machines. And actually, when you get down to the terminal and you start saying start container machine and all this kind of stuff, it looks a bit weird.
It does sound a little weird.
Yeah, so it's part of the Open Container Initiative, so that's where the container part of it comes from. But it's quite nice. It gives you a Linux container, an Alpine Linux or something very lightweight that you can sort of work with at a fairly low level inside of your Mac. And that's quite nice. If you use a lot of containerized things or Dockerized things, which I do, I must say, this is another way of doing them and utilizing some of the power of the Mac. Rather than having to install something quite heavyweight on the Mac, for example, Docker Desktop is really heavyweight. It's not a great GUI. You're actually better getting down and dirty in the text files. You're not learning anything by using Docker Desktop. So the text files aren't very complicated, and these container machines are just quite an interesting way to do it. The register do point out one thing that I'd agree with. The security model is a bit weird. It sort of exposes your Mac directly within the Linux container machine. So if you run Who Am I, it knows who you are on the Linux virtual machine and on the Mac virtual machine. So it's kind of an odd user space attack might be possible with something like this.
I did read that it shares your home folder as well, and with read and write permissions, which I kind of get like if you're doing coding maybe on your Mac, but you want to run it. Maybe you've got Apache running this Linux container. I don't know enough about containerization. I will admit that now. I get the concepts of it, but I've never really played with it. It does sound cool, and it's probably something if I was still a developer I would get into, because then you're not turning your development machine into a pseudo version of live, and you can code against it. So I do get it, but I feel ill-equipped, I guess, to really comment on it because I just haven't done much containerization.
I do a lot of Docker stuff, I must say. So this is interesting to me. But normally in like a Docker model, you would exec into the Docker model and do any sort of terminal type stuff inside of that inside of the container, not have that exposed to the your own home directory as you would. So that's a concern. If you want to learn more, I mean, the register have got this right up, but there is actually a WWDC video that Apple themselves have produced about that this year, and I need to try and mute this quickly. No, it's not even going to play. So apologies if there's some sound there. But yeah, it might be worth watching the video. It's not very long. It's only 11 minutes. Again, I think calling them container machines, you think Apple would be better at branding really than that. But, it is what it is. Have a look, I think is the answer.
Yeah, I've got a load of videos I want to catch up on from WWDC.
Yeah. So that's container machines. One of the other things that were obviously a big deal at WWDC were the new Siri AI features. We're going to talk about that a little bit in the main show. But this is an article on 9to5Mac where they try and explain the variety and depths of the various foundational models that Apple now have. And I don't think I actually understand, frankly, all these models. They've made it far more complicated than it has to be.
Yeah, I was going to say this to you. I was like, Rod, I read the article. I'm not sure it really actually gives me like a 101. So what they're saying is there's, 5 models. You've got AFM 3 Core, AFM 3 Core Advanced, AFM 3 Cloud, ADM 3 Cloud (brackets image), and AFM 3 Cloud Pro. And I was like, okay, like that seems way more models than I was anticipating. I guess there's logic to this of which one you use when and depending upon what the input's been. But yeah, I came away not really understanding it terribly well, I guess.
So my take on this, and it's probably wrong because, like you say, I'm not entirely off air with it either, is that the AFM3 core is the absolute bog basic, will run on most older Apple devices, so it's not very big. We keep talking about Google downloading that 4 gigabyte file on everybody's Chrome. I think it's that will let you do the basics of Siri stuff, setting timers, all that kind of things as it happens. Now, the F3, so it's a local model. The FM3 Core Advanced will run on the most up-to-date hardware. So that's your M4 iPads, that's your M3 and M4 Max, and only the iPhone 17 Pro.
/Air.
Nothing below that. So that is a highly parameterized 20 billion parameter model that will only run on those systems. So obviously that needs a bit of RAM for it to be able to work on.
Yeah, so it feels like AFM3 Core then is what needs 8 gigabytes, whereas AFM3 Core Advanced needs the 12 gigabytes that come with these later models. We should probably also point out that AFM stands for Apple Foundational Model.
Exactly. And I think these are partially created with Google. They're not entirely Google's Gemini models.
Yeah, it feels like it's got like Gemini like as a foundation, I guess, underneath, and then Apple have sprinkled some secret sauce on the top.
Yeah, I mean, they've said it's an extend. Well, that's actually the next 2 models we're talking about here, which are AFM3 Cloud, which is the server side, and then ADM3 Cloud Image for image generation and editing. So that sounds like it's specific to image stuff. This is for everything else. So when your local model isn't good enough and it reaches out to the cloud, the AFM3 Cloud is what you're hitting, unless it's a specifically image-based thing, at which point you're in ADM3 Cloud. And then the last one, I think, is more for developers to actually start building agentic workflows and things like that. So that's the models. I mean, these are Apple's words, not even 9to5Mac's. They haven't done the greatest job of explaining them, really, but, that's them.
Maybe Apple want to keep a bit of smoke and mirrors around exactly how it all works because they don't want other vendors to replicate what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah, but we all know they're behind in this. So this, they've white labeled one of Google's things and sprinkled some of their own, documents into that to make it an Apple Foundation model, really.
Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, so that was that. Yeah, it's worth touching on that because I think both you and I are equally confused about it, really. So, but hopefully that made a little more sense of it. Moving on, and I think this was bad news. If you're a user of Asahi Linux, which is the Linux that only runs on M1 and M2 Macs, it's a remix of Fedora 44, I think it's up to these days. But if you installed the macOS 27 beta, you got a nasty surprise. You couldn't boot your Asahi Linux partition anymore.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame that it's broken. I wonder how many people actually do that, and given that it doesn't run on the latest M-class Macs, I do wonder whether it's days was numbered. But it is a shame something's broken like that because we kind of lost the whole boot piece when we went to Apple Silicon because we lost the ability to boot into Windows. So it'd be nice actually if they kept this sort of functionality because it would be good to boot into ARM Windows into ARM Linux, I guess.
Yeah, I think this is a problem, and it's worth pointing out again the amount of landfill that Apple are creating with stuff like this, that they should allow third parties access to the bootloader for the older Macs so they don't become obsolete. Next generation or the generation after, M1s are going to become obsolete, right? So it's only through projects like this that we're not going to have a bunch of machines that are stuck on unpatched, unsecurity verified versions of an operating system. So I think it sucks. I mean, I understand that it's a beta. You shouldn't be installing a beta if you've got a production-ready environment like Asahi, and you're running a production-level stuff in Asahi Linux. It seems like the partition's still there. It's just the way the bootloader calls everything to get it actually up and running has changed.
Yeah, I'd echo your statement. You probably shouldn't install a beta, but we all do it. Or some of us do. Yeah, you're right. But I do wonder how many people are really running this. It'd be interesting to know that.
I think enough people do. I installed it on an M1 MacBook Pro just to see what it was like, and it was mostly very good. You know, it's a very fast Linux. The battery life wasn't quite as long as the Mac side of things, but they're having to reverse engineer absolutely everything to get it running. It's an amazing thing that they've got anything working at all. If you look at the state of Linux on Snapdragon processors, it's not nearly as advanced as it was on Apple Silicon, which blows me away, really, that you can reverse engineer it. There's enough good Mac laptops out there that the Linux developers who develop Asahi Linux have managed to do that, even though we've talked about it on the podcast before. A couple of them left, and there was some sort of bad blood between the Hector. I can't remember the developer's surname. He left, other people took it up, and they'd run with it, and it went from M1 to M2. There were definitely a few issues with it. HDMI didn't work, display port sharing didn't work. I think only the onboard webcam would work. Thunderbolt device is not very well supported. So there were definitely issues with it. But however, you would have a usable laptop. So
yeah, true. And sometimes if you're a bit techie, you're happy to work around these little issues of things not quite working as planned, right? And you want to play with this stuff.
Yeah, but don't install Golden Gate if you want your Asahi partition to work. That's the moral of the story.
Understood.
Do you want to tell us about FaceTime in iOS 27?
Yeah, I can do so. But apparently, I do wonder whether 9to5 Mac are trying to get sensational here, because they've got iOS 27 gives FaceTime a huge upgrade with this powerful new feature. And basically, you can do dual capture now, so that you can have one camera looking at you and the other camera facing out the back of your phone could be looking, at a book or the view. And so you can then, obviously, if you're on a FaceTime call, send your two camera feeds to the recipient, which is cool. I don't know when you read the detail, though, like the way Apple maybe implemented it, because when you push the change camera button, rather than just showing your face or the other camera, one of the options now is your face and the other camera. And I was like, I don't know, it just feels like everything's in one button. They really don't like adding buttons, do they? And FaceTime is pretty minimal at best, because how often do you speak to maybe the older generation and they still don't know how to flip the cameras around? I often have that with my parents.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I mean, it feels like a feature built for the Snapdragon streaming generation more than anything else, frankly, that you're going to want to record yourself and reacting to something that's going on around you at the same time.
Like there's a firework going off. See my face explode with the light. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's a streamer thing, an influencer thing. I suppose it's quite nice that you've got a feeling of both cameras, what's going on around people, as well as seeing the face. But it's not something I was pushing for, and I agree with you. It's very clickbaity from 9to5 Mac. Ooh, sensational new feature. It's not that sensational, is it?
Yeah, and there's just not a lot in it. It's a bit disappointing.
And last but not least, for follow-up, we missed this last week through the WWDC stuff, but this was Signal, who make an encrypted messaging app, made famous by Pete Hegseth and his Hegseth on his we're clear on OPSEC. You are clear on OPSEC as long as you don't invite other people who are not meant to be in the chat into the chat, it would seem. But this is a statement from them that protesting against current UK government moves to ensure that vendors are responsible for scanning people's devices to make sure there's no nude images in them. And basically they're saying that what the UK government is trying to do will not keep children safe. It endangers us all. It would be dangerous. It wouldn't it would be against privacy, and it's dystopian, basically. Signal argues the proposed technology could at some point be repurposed to enable state-sponsored surveillance of all citizens' comms or used as a mass censorship tool. And I get that argument.
Yeah, I think hopefully they're saying that they would want to protect children, but they're also saying that we are then just one step away from screening everything that's sent over our encrypted network. So if we're doing this for one thing, you can see governments maybe misusing it or forcing tech companies to misuse it. So as much as I would love to protect children, I agree with it, but you're right, this could then be taken a whole other way.
Of course it could. And of course you've got to be sensitive to the arguments, and there is a statement from the NSPCC further down here saying, every day these protections are not in place, more children will continue to face devastating harm in the online world. That's why we strongly support the government's decision to make it mandatory for these companies to block inappropriate material at device level. This marks a major step forward in our fight against online sexual abuse. And I agree with that. I mean, how can you not agree with that? At the same time, it's a slippery slope down to the government mandating what you are allowed to see on your device, not to,
and what you're allowed to transmit and receive.
Yeah, and it's not a million miles away from what we were talking about before, with them controlling VPNs, with what's accessible on your devices, and it's all just, it's not Big Brother is watching you. It's Big Brother it's just in complete control of everything you're doing. It's a very fine line. I understand it's a very difficult thing for people to walk, but it's the same as saying, well, you should let the security services have access to everybody's phones as a backdoor, and then you're actually giving the criminals access as well. Very difficult.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I think because when you first read it, like, why wouldn't Signal want to protect children? But then actually, when you read more into it, it's like, actually, they've got a point here. Like, we are just one step away from this being misused. So I do agree.
Yeah, I totally agree. Anything else in follow-up?
No, I don't think so.
Let's do some news, and I think at least one of these stories could have been follow-up. Sometimes it's hard to strike the balance with things we've talked about or we're following up on, but I think this is genuinely a new thing. OpenAI, the company that are responsible for ChatGPT, says fake accounts from China tried to turn Americans against data centers. This is blowing my mind. I have seen there's been a lot of pushback in the United States against building new data centers. It's kind of like the don't build the nuclear power station near me thing, because people know how much power, water, energy that they're using. So there's been a real sort of backlash against it, and unsurprisingly, the AI companies need to build more data centers for selling us AI that we all really, really want, don't we? So they're now pushing this line that it's all Chinese state-sponsored actors, effectively, that are pushing for the pushback against data centers.
I'm just wondering how much truth is there behind this? Like, it's credible, or are they just doing this to cast shade on it so that actually people do really want their data centers in their backyard?
Yeah, I don't think the Chinese care that much, do they? It's I don't know. I struggle to believe something like this in terms of putting on your tinfoil hat and being paranoid about things. When a big company like OpenAI, who are on the precipice of going pop or making it even more with all the money that they've made, are saying things like this, I'm very, very skeptical about it.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Kind of with you on this one, but you could see how this has come around.
Oh, totally. Yeah, from that point of view, you could, and particularly as people are now more accepting of these kinds of stories. Oh yes, it's definitely hackers that are causing all these problems. I can understand why they'd take that sort of, they'd take that take on it.
Yeah, completely agree.
We haven't got it in here, I don't think, but have you seen this latest story, I think it's today or the day before, about Claude having to take down their most recent model because of the United States government telling them it's too advanced?
I've seen that, but I didn't really see any more about it. But why? Like, is it really too advanced? Like, why?
Because they're worried that it'll get stolen and DeepSeek will be able to repurpose it. And it's such an advanced model, you could be able to use it for all manner of attacks and vulnerabilities and all that kind of stuff.
Surely this is amazing marketing for Claude. Like, we've got the most power. Well, our AI is so powerful, we've had to turn some of it off. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
like, they should really be harnessing that.
When you go into Claude, and I think all of them do this now, you can choose which model you want to apply to the queries you've got going. And it's there, but it's like, we can't access this. It's been disabled. You've got to use your earlier models.
Wow, okay. That is something to be shouting about, isn't it?
It's not bad. It's like when Apple were saying the Mac Pro was the same class, the same category as ammunition, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Moving on, and this is a Verge article, so I'm not going to scroll it, but I think that's not what I wanted to show. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I think this is an amazing headline. So Elon Musk became a trillionaire with the IPO of SpaceX earlier this week, and The Verge's headline for this article is, "The world's first trillionaire is a killer. Elon Musk's empire of wealth is built on suffering." I think, what a dramatic headline.
Yeah, it doesn't feel as clickbaity as the 9 to 5 Mac. I think I can get behind this one. It's a good headline.
I think we'd all get behind this. A lot of this stems from Musk's Department of Government Efficiency killing off lots of United States programs. One of those programs was USAID. USAID was directly responsible for feeding medical supplies, clothing, food, etc., money to countries that really, really needed it. And cutting off those funds has absolutely killed people. So if he was responsible for that, then he is a killer. And that's the crux of the article in The Verge.
Yeah, it's all a bit weird though, because he was best mates with the president, and that's all gone very quiet, hasn't it? It's been an odd year, but now he's like the world's first trillionaire. Who needs that much money? Sorry.
If he gave away just the money he'd made in the last week, it would be able to stop all world poverty for 1 year. That he'd still have the money he had before last week. He'd just give away the new wealth.
Oh, it's just stupid, isn't it? Like this is just where the divide's just got too great, hasn't
it? I find it staggering. And this is the man that was trying to save humanity by sending us to Mars. He could save humanity by giving away some of his money and not even suffer from it.
Yeah, why don't we fix our planet?
Let's fix our planet rather than going somewhere else. Let's, sort out some of the issues we've got here. Instead of doing this, he's off there and he's promoting far right groups like AFM in Germany and Tommy Robinson in the UK and all this kind of stuff. It beggars belief.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But I can't believe he's a trillionaire. It's just insane, isn't it? Like, that's so much money. I can't even imagine what it's like to have that sort of money.
No. How many yachts do you need?
Yeah, surely there comes a point when there's nothing more to buy.
Yeah. Was it Alexander wept when he saw there were no more worlds to conquer? It's probably like that.
Yeah, agreed. What his motivation to keep getting up every day and driving the stock price and answer to shareholders? Like, but why? Why does he need to do it?
Yeah, but he doesn't, does he? Let's move on. I'm bored of talking about Elon Musk. If you're a Microsoft Office user, particularly a Mac Office user, and you're still using Office 2019, well, you're about to get locked out. So you'll be able to view documents, but you won't be able to edit documents if you're using any version of Office 2019. Low blow, Microsoft.
Yeah, I guess they've got to age it out at some point. I don't know. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because you buy the license for the 2019 Office and you're installing it, you get some patches. But I guess they've got to try and force you to upgrade at some point. Otherwise, they could be running weird versions that they're not patching anymore. So I find this a bit tricky too.
LibreOffice, done.
Okay. Yeah. I think people are scared of it though.
What's to be scared of? It doesn't cost you anything.
Never just change, and you've got to edit documents that you're editing with others.
Yeah, but DocX is DocX. That horrible file format is entirely supported. I've had more luck opening some documents with LibreOffice file formats than I have with Microsoft sometimes.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. So I don't disagree with you, but I think Microsoft's in a tricky spot here. But I can see why they're pushing this on, and it is circa 7 years worth of use, which feels not too scary.
Sure, but they just want the money.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, let's face it. When Microsoft went from pick one, Word 3.5 or something like that to Word 97, that was a major interface change. People are scared all the time. It makes no difference staying within the product.
Yeah, true.
The whole EU is in the process of switching to EuroOffice. That's more of a change, surely. People can cope. People can cope with the fact that they're bold for shouting at people and text button has moved slightly.
I think sometimes people need to be forced into the change, though, don't they?
I think they do. Speaking of EuroOffice, LibreOffice isn't pleased with it at all. So EuroOffice was forked from OnlyOffice. OnlyOffice was some sort of open source but not really thing from a group of Russian developers. It's vaguely open source. EuroOffice is forked off that. LibreOffice is obviously based on StarOffice from many, many, many years ago. StarOffice was a thing when you and I were in university, for goodness sake, that eventually became LibreOffice. However, there's quite an interesting open letter from LibreOffice here. It's quite short and to the point, but basically it boils down to the fact that the European Union has said it wants to support open document formats. It wants to use an open version of the operating system. Why are they still settling as DocX as the base document format and not ODF? That's what it boils down to. You're still beholden to Microsoft's particular wrangling of the XML format rather than an open source one.
Yeah, that's a fair point, isn't it? Like, why are we still defaulting to the big corporation? You're right, they should be changing that.
Yeah, it's no big deal. And here's a shocker. Microsoft Office can open .odf files, so it makes no difference.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, that is quite shocking.
Yeah, so I've sent ODF and ODT files to Microsoft Office users. Never had a complaint. I always get them back as docx, but they open fine.
Right, okay, because everybody then goes saves as. Okay, got you.
Yeah, so it gets wrangled back anyway. But LibreOffice copes, it really does. In the same way that, Apple Pages copes when you send docx files off, you know?
Yeah, it's generally okay.
But this is right. I think LibreOffice have got a definite leg to stand on here, that the European Union should be defaulting to the open format.
Agreed.
And last but not least for news, I know you've missed some Palantir news. We've gone a whole week without any, so this isn't Palantir, but it's not a million miles away from it. The NHS has prescribed 500,000 Copilot licenses for its paperwork headache. So this is apparently the NHS have bought a bunch of extra Copilot licenses to help 505,000 clinicians and support staff across 90 organisations because it reckons it's going to save a bit of money on admin. I'm not convinced myself.
So they're giving everybody these licenses, but are they training them? Are they showing them how to use it? Because I've seen it. You give people a license and they sat there. I've got a Copilot bump. I don't really know what I'm going to ask it, and I might ask it instead of going to Google. I might just ask it a question. But I'd love to know how people are using this. I really want to see people, because I don't use it enough, and I'd like to know more.
Oh, I don't like Copilot, so I'm never going to click that button. When they force to have the keyboard, the button on the keyboard, that's going to put people off. And the Copilotization of Windows we've talked about often enough. Do you think they're giving these licenses away, or it's Microsoft pushing NHS England going, look, you have all these things, give them to some users. Maybe they'll use them, and then maybe we can charge you for it in the next charging round. There's
got to be something here, even if it is like have some test licenses for 6 months. There's going to be a bill at some point. Microsoft can play the long game, can't they?
Yeah, they can afford it. I mean, it even says in this Register article, one detail missing from today's announcement is the price tag. NHS England has not disclosed the cost of the deal, although public pricing for Microsoft 365 Copilot typically runs to tens of pounds per user per month. So this could be quite expensive for 50,000 users. No, it's more than that, isn't it? It's hundreds of thousands of users, 505,000 users.
Yeah, it's like $500,000. So no, this would be, even if it's free for a period, this would be really expensive.
Really expensive. Anything else in the news?
No, I don't think so. I must confess, I haven't caught up on a lot of the WWDC stuff, like the tech videos, and I do want to do a bit of that when I get 10 minutes.
Yep, that's fair enough. Should we do some media?
Let's do the media.
So first up, Taskmaster Season 21 had its finale on Thursday, and I just want to say what a great season it was.
I've not seen it, but I do know the result, which I'm annoyed about, because it's flashed up on something. I can't remember where I saw it, but I was like, I know the answer. I've been watching, but I haven't really stayed up to date, so I'm a few behind. But I'm happy with the result, and I'm very much enjoying it. It is a really good series. I don't know a lot of the people in it, but it's fantastic. Genuinely really enjoying it.
I'm surprised you don't know a lot of the people in it. I mean, Armando Iannucci, you'll have definitely watched his stuff in the past.
And I had bought the Audible book of The Thick of It and listened to it because I can picture it. So I was quite happy listening to the audio version. So yes, I do know him. And I got that off the back of seeing him on it. I thought, actually, I should rewatch some of his stuff. And it's so good.
Death of Stalin is definitely one to seek out. That says absolutely, it's a terrific film.
Okay, I'll put that on the list.
It's actually factually correct as well. Obviously it's a humorized version of it, but the things that happen in that, even some of the more ridiculous ones, actually happened in real life as well. And you've got some phenomenal actors in there as well, so it's definitely worth checking out. The Death of Stalin. They also did a little sneaky preview of the cast to come for season 22. Did you see that?
No, I haven't seen that.
Do you want some spoilers for who's in that?
Yeah, I've just written down Death of Stalin on my watch list.
Yeah, that on your watch list. So I'll just say two of them. Matt Lucas.
Ooh.
Yeah, and possibly the biggest get for a while, other than Kamal Nanjiani, of course, Richard Ayoade.
Okay, yeah, I could get behind that. Sounds amazing. Those two alone should be awesome fun. So hopefully they live up and are as entertaining as you think they would be, if you know what I mean. Because there's nothing worse. Think it's going to be the best one ever, and then you get it. It's like, What I do fear for them, though, if they peak with a really amazing lineup, they've got to follow it up with another season.
No, but I think the lockdown one of Dara Brian and Sarah Millican was similarly stellar. You know,
that was fantastic.
Yeah, and it was a really great season actually. So I will put in the show notes a link to season 22 cast announcement, because they did show it straight after the season finale, which was quite good. And of course, that's going to play music. But there you go. So Chloe Petts.
Oh, I saw her. She was on Have I Got News for You recently.
Izzy Sutty, who is obviously from Peep Show. Matt Lucas, as we've talked about. I'm narrating this live now, mostly because I'd forgotten. Nina Conti, who I don't know actually.
I recognise her. Yeah, that's an amazing setup. Okay. They must constantly be building, filming, creating, producing, recording, like just in a whirlwind of doing these, because they release, 2 a year?
Yeah. I think this is great, though. I mean, this view of Richard Ayoade here standing with the barrel with a burning shoe has got to be an IT Crowd reference, yeah? Fire! Exclamation mark. Fire! Okay. Exclamation mark.
Fantastic. No, it's going to be good. I like Richard Ayoade a lot. So, yeah, fantastic. Like, fair play to Taskmaster. They've got some power to sign really good people.
It's a terrific show as well. There's only been one season, I think, this week, and even that wasn't that bad. Moving on, I've also continued to watch Rivals, which is on Disney+. It stars David Tennant and others. I'll scroll down so I can get the rest of the cast list. And of course, it's not showing up. Alex Halsall, David Tennant, Aidan Turner, Nafessa Willis, Catherine Parkinson, another IT Crowd alumni. It's a lot of fun. David Tennant is absolutely chewing the scenery everywhere. I can't say if he's the bad guy. I'll say he's a bad guy. If you haven't watched Rivals and you want a little bit of not to watch with the children fun, I think it's a great show.
Yeah, I'm not going to get anywhere near it. I'm not even going to commit to this one.
It's in the Cotswolds, though, Chris. You should be all over it.
I know. There's just so much other stuff I want to get to, and I'm struggling.
Yeah, well, season 2. I've finished season 1. Season 2 has started airing as well, so I'll make a start on that when I've got 5 minutes. And then, last but not least, last night I decided I was going to have a go at this Apple TV show Widow's Bay, starring Matthew Rhys, because I'd seen it had quite good reviews, and it had just been renewed for season 2, so I thought there could be something about it. It's billed as a horror comedy. And I think it does both things quite well, actually. It's definitely got the comedy side of it. It's quite well put together, quite well structured. Matthew Rhys is terrific in it. I can't remember this actor's name, but he's from Office Space. He's the guy who gets fired. He's been the man in the high castle. It's good. I'd give it a shot. If you want, it's not that long either. First episode's 45 minutes, then you're down to 32, 33 minutes episodes. I think there's 8 of them so far. So, yeah, worth a watch.
How much horror is there?
A bit.
Are we talking Shaun of the Dead style, or are we talking full-on Stephen King?
It's hard to say because I've only watched 2 episodes. It's not like Saw, though. There's not like blood and gore everywhere. It's more like creeping menace so far.
Okay. All right. I might be right. I just don't like anything too... I'm not into horror films, that's all.
No. Neither am I particularly, other than unless they're science fiction ones. But no, this is good. I'm enjoying it.
Okay, that's cool.
I do want to talk about Letterkenny, but I'll save that till next week.
Okay.
Anything? Have you managed to watch anything?
Not really, if I'm being honest. I did watch a little bit of Coupling, which was a early 2000s TV show by the creator of some Doctor Who stuff, but that's probably about it.
You got to get your watching on.
I know. I just haven't had the time.
Who does? Should we do some games?
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is an answer to a question you posed about 3 weeks ago. Where is the Steam machine? Where is the Steam frame? Well, they released the Steam controller. We talked about it and its built-in Scream function. Apparently, we will have the Steam machine this summer. So, some news for you.
That's cool. I was talking about this just with some teenage kids today as I was driving them somewhere. My son and his mate. And even they were like, we want to see it too. It sounds pretty cool. I am scared to know how much it's going to cost. That's probably my concern, because I quite fancy something like this to replace my old gaming PC, but actually my old gaming PC is doing what I need, so I don't think I really need to go spend the money, but I really like to see it and see what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, the price scares me. I think it's got to be at least £1,000, right?
Yeah, I reckon so.
Where I think it might fit is under your TV. If you get a Steam controller as well, you put it under the TV, you run Steam in big picture mode with a controller, then it becomes a quite interesting device that, like Slay the Spire 2, for example, I can play it on my Steam Deck, great, but the screen's a bit small. I can play it on my computer, my Macs, or a Linux machine, that's fine. But it would be really cool to be able to play an early access game that you can't get on your PlayStation yet, or your Xbox, or your Nintendo Switch 2, or something like that. And so many games now are optimized for controllers that would run well on something like this. I think it could. And have you tried, or have you looked at using Steam in big picture mode on a machine?
Nope.
I think if you've got enough old PCs lying around, you should try it on one of those gaming machines that you've got.
Yeah,
you
I've got one.
You should install Bazzite. You should install it so that Steam Big Picture Mode launches straight away with a controller. I think you'd have a really interesting experience with something like that. I was watching someone on YouTube build one, not only as a Steam machine, as a console PC type thing, but also so you could stream stuff with it. You could have Jellyfin on there. You could do all that kind of stuff as well as a channel inside of Steam, so you'd never actually need to see the desktop interface. I think that could be quite an interesting way of running a computer.
Yeah, I'm there. I want to see what it looks like. The chance of me buying one is going to be slim, though, because I think I'm going to wait for the world to calm down a little bit with everything, which hopefully we're going to get a peace agreement and maybe that will start coming, but I doubt it's going to be anytime soon.
That's not going to affect RAM prices, though.
True, because that was already happening, wasn't it?
That was already happening. They've said we're 6 to 8 years before RAM prices go back down.
Sorry?
Yeah, I know, but if you read the articles about it, because of the demand from AI companies, it's going to be 6 to 8 years before prices go back down.
Yeah, AI solving all our problems, but create all these other problems.
I think it's created a much bigger problem than it solved.
Oh man, that's infuriating. But I want some hard drives and I want some new computers to come out.
Yeah, without paying through the teeth through them.
Yeah, that is the problem, isn't it? Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah, you might need just to bite the bullet.
Anyway, let's wait and see. When it comes out, we'll talk about it, won't we? We can have a mini review.
Yeah, when it's $2,000, we can both go, we're not buying one of them. We'll see. I picked up a game this week. I think it's one you already had. It's called Tempest Rising. I think it's 26 quid on Steam at the moment, but I was scrolling through Hot UK deals and I saw this for $3.99, so I thought I'm all over a bit of that. So I picked it up for 4 quid. I fired up Crossover Office on my Mac, and I've been sitting playing it on my Mac Mini M4, even though it's a Windows-only game.
Oh, okay, that's kind of cool. And what do you think?
Experience is good. It's very Command & Conquer, though, isn't it? It's very, very, very Command & Conquer. Down to the mysterious stuff growing from the ground and basically the GDI and Nod, except they're called, in fact, I've got it on this webpage here, Tempest Dynasty and the Global Defense Force, even look a bit like them. And
there's Yeti. I don't know what Veti, sorry. I don't know what they are. But they've lifted it from there. And I'm all right with that. I quite fancy a modern one. I think it's cool.
I think it's cool too. It's a fairly solid real-time strategy game. I was quite impressed. So it's one of those things I need to come back and spend a bit of time on. Having it on my Mac is great, but I actually need to remember to come and sit in front of it. This comes back to the Steam Machine conversation. If this ran quite well with a wireless keyboard and a controller, and you had it on your TV, you're more likely to play it than you are, right, I'm going through next door, I'm going to sit in front of my computer, I'm going to fire up the gaming experience. All right, now the kids are shouting, or I've got DIY to do, or whatever it is, all the life getting in the way stuff. You'd quite like to sit and spend, 90 minutes solid in front of a computer and play a game. You might do that if it was on a console.
Maybe, but I'd have to kick a child off the TV first. That's the only problem I have there.
I suspect you've got more than one TV in your house.
Maybe there's enough TVs for one each.
See, I'm not incorrect then.
No, you're not incorrect at all. I do, and I should play this more because this was right up my street, and it's beautiful, and it ran really well on my gaming PC.
Well, and it'll run really well on a fairly decent Mac as well. In fact, if you've got Crossover Office, it's actually quite easy to install. And with Amazon Prime Day coming up, or Black Friday, not that far away, I picked up Crossover Office year before last for some ridiculously small amount of money, like 9 quid.
Oh, okay.
So if you can keep it out, and it does enable a bunch of stuff, particularly as Mac gaming's about to get more complicated when they drop all the Rosetta 2 layer.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Thank you very much. And you have managed to play a game too, it would seem.
I've played a game. I was so chuffed with myself. I wanted to talk about it last week, but obviously we're doing WWDC. So I've played James Bond First Light. And I bought it just because I read somewhere this is like the best James Bond game ever. And I thought, I'll give it a go. And what did I call it in the show notes? I've called it Uncharted Bond because basically it's like playing an Uncharted game. And I like an Uncharted game because you're kind of doing a story and you're doing a bit of action and a bit of a story. And there's a bit of jumping and there's sometimes some puzzles. And so far I'm only doing the training stuff at the moment, but just quite enjoying it. And there's a guy called James Bond. There's some characters like M and Q and Moneypenny, but they're all different to the ones you've known and seen. I just think they've done thus far quite a good job. And yeah, quite an enjoyable game.
Yeah, I've read similar reviews to you that they've said it's a really good, best Bond game since GoldenEye, basically, is what this boils down to.
Yeah, it didn't even need to be Bond, like I say. It just feels like an Uncharted game. It's just, and there's been so few games I've actually wanted to pick up on the PlayStation. It was quite nice to actually buy something on the PlayStation and, like you say, sit down for half an hour and have a go.
This is the worry with all the games. I mean, I think it's one of the reasons I like Slay the Spire so much is that it's accessible. I can drop in for 30 minutes and I'm done, and I can leave it. Whereas something like this, as with Tempest Rising, the worry is you play the first couple of missions of the tutorial and you're like, right, yeah, I'm going to come back to that. I'm having a great time. And then you don't because life gets in the way. So I think it's a real challenge for modern gaming is that our attention spans are drawn in so many different directions.
Agreed. What is good with this, though, is it saves all the time. So it's actually quite easy just to do 10 minutes, come back, do 10 minutes, come back. So I would say that is a benefit of this game.
Okay, so Chris's challenge, if we come back in 2 weeks, I want you to tell me how much you've played.
Yeah, that's fair. Give me a shout.
Yeah, and if, we may be in a play date situation here.
It is a concern, I must confess, but I'm hoping I keep going with it.
Main show?
Go on then, what's the main show?
Well, I figured it's worth us talking about this. So this horrendous slide here with all the text on it is all the things that Apple announced but didn't announce at WWDC. And I just wondered if it was worth just going through, maybe not all of them, but some of the things we kind of skipped over.
Yeah, I was just trying to read the screen that you're sharing. It's a very small type. I think it is worth it, and we've both also played a bit with some of the releases, haven't we? So we can maybe talk about that too.
So we'll go from top left until we get bored, basically, I think. So apparently you're getting a new UI language for English Canada and English Philippines. Fair enough. I think Canadians probably suffer quite a lot from it being either US English or UK English.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, and Philippines similarly, I think obviously an awful lot of language. Is it Tagalog that they speak in the Philippines? Am I wrong about that?
I wouldn't know, I'm sorry.
I apologise to any listeners from the Philippines if I've got that wrong, but I know that English is quite a dominant language there as well, so I think that's only a good thing. I just like to say, as a British English speaker and writer, that the dominance of US English really irritates me in almost all operating systems, though. The fact that Zs appear in words like specialisation if you're not paying attention, the fact that Office should fire up defaults to US English even if you got your region set to UK drives me crazy. Colour has a U in it. Just saying that, it has a U in it.
It's not trash, it's a bin.
It's the bin. Yeah, and it's English. It's not American English. When I see a website and it's got English with a US flag, I don't like it.
Agreed.
Faster AirPlay, rant over. Faster AirPlay connections to Apple TV and HomePod. That can only be a good thing.
I'm excited by that.
I would say I had an interesting experience with my Sonos just the other day, actually. Randomly, I find with a Sonos system, it either works or it doesn't. And sometimes when you're playing something on Apple Music and you look for your AirPlay speakers and you go, oh, that, it may or may not start working. It's a bit random, even with Apple's own devices. I was cleaning the other day. I ticked a bunch of things. All my Sonoses around the place. They all started playing. It was great. I stopped it, forgot about it, started watching something on my Apple TV, and all my Sonos speakers started broadcasting from the Apple TV, which I was not expecting.
Wow, okay, yeah, I can understand that.
So, and I didn't know how to stop it. The Sonos was just like, something went wrong. So there was no way to stop it either.
Yeah, that can be annoying when your tech's really good, but when you can't get it to do quite what you want. Yeah.
So I hope that fixes it. More relevant Spotlight search suggestions. Now, we've both been using the beta, right?
Yeah, this one's incorrect.
That's not been my experience of using New Siri in the beta.
Because the problem is they've merged New Siri and Spotlight into one, and so it's trying to be cleverer. So maybe some of these titles we're seeing here are where we're going to be in 3 months once the beta's over, or 2 months' time. So I'm a little skeptical on that one.
Yeah, I'm with you. Web audio no longer interrupts system audio. That can only be a good thing. I've got no direct experience of that. Undo and redo home screen edits in iPadOS. Really?
Why just iPadOS?
Yeah, why not everywhere? Okay. Faster PDF saving. I didn't think it was particularly slow, but great.
Agreed.
I mean, they did say a part of this was going to be an improvement in speed across the system, so that's only a good thing. Improved top results in Mail. I haven't observed this. I have been using Mail. Don't see it.
Don't use Mail a huge amount.
I've actually imported my Exchange calendar and Mail into Apple products just to test this out. How brave am I?
Yeah, I don't do it. I just use Outlook.
Yeah. Filter photos and videos in shared albums. Great. More document formats in Preview. I think that is a good thing. Preview is a good standard, for viewing. Yeah.
It's a great app. And now it's on the iOS devices. Fantastic.
I would point out, I downloaded a thing from the App Store on my non-beta Mac called PDF something, and it set itself to be the default PDF viewer, and I was unimpressed.
Yeah, that would be an instant delete.
Yeah. Drawing notes in macOS, great. That brings parity to...
Why would I want to draw in notes on macOS?
Well, maybe something is coming at some point where we'll be able to touch the screen, Chris. Yep. New keyboard layout for Slovenian and Estonian. Good. Control center access and iPhone mirroring. Okay.
That was an odd one. So when you were using iPhone mirroring on your Mac, you couldn't pull down Control Center, which was just stupid. So that feels like a no-brainer, but it's taken like 2 years to do that.
Yeah, good thing. I don't use iPhone mirroring, I've got to say. I just pick up my phone.
I do use it very occasionally.
Audio scrubbing and CarPlay now playing.
Yes. This. Because I've for a long time thought, why is it always skip next track in CarPlay when you're listening to an audio? Sometimes you just want to buzz along 30 seconds and you can do it. So now you can just grab a slider and move it along. It's brilliant. It's really good.
I think they've come to terms with the fact that people actually do touch the touchscreens in their cars occasionally, even when they're moving.
But this has taken like 10 years to get this.
Yeah. It's about time. It's still not enough to make me upgrade to the beta on my phone. Add keywords to photos and videos and photos. Yay.
Oh, I never do this.
No, I'm never going to do it. Extra large widgets in Todayview in iPadOS. Well, it's an iPad, you got a big screen, why not?
Yeah, I really don't use a lot of widgets.
Live activity for precision finding with friends. I presume you can find them on the supermarket aisle if you're looking for them.
Okay, live activity makes sense, I guess. Like if you're waiting for your child to meet you and you want to know when they hit a certain point, I don't know.
Yeah. Could be. Better battery efficiency on Apple Watch. Wouldn't know, neither of us will have. Well, I have one that's not going to update and you don't wear yours.
Yep, sold it.
Smart downloads on Apple TV. Okay, why?
What does the Apple TV download?
Apps?
Occasionally, yeah, like once you've installed the 4 media apps you need, you're done, aren't you?
Yeah. Else, if supporting shortcuts, I believe that's quite a big deal if you use shortcuts.
It does sound like a big deal, don't you, shortcuts?
Yeah. Faster board previews in Freeform. Nobody uses Freeform. More accurate step tracking in Apple Watch. Was it not accurate before?
Yeah, that's a bit of a worry. Like we're 10 years into the Apple Watch now.
Yeah. Sort by completed Fitness Plus workouts. Never use it. Faster message loading in Mail. Good. Improved connectivity for Thread home accessories. You've got to have a comment about that.
I haven't added any new ones, so I don't really have a comment on it, I think. But maybe when I go to add one, because I've had loads of issues with adding Thread stuff. So that can only be good, right?
It's a pain point, Thread stuff. We both know that. Automatic punctuation when typing on multilingual keyboards. Okay. Faster smart home accessory updates.
That's got to be good.
That's probably good, yeah. Option click to secondary sort.
I don't know what that means.
See, as we go through these, I feel we're getting to less and less important ones. And we're only on line 4. More efficient emergency alert monitoring. That's got to be good. Apple Care coverage details in settings in tvOS.
So ready for when they sell a new TV, Apple TV, they can go, do you want to buy Apple Care for your Apple TV that probably won't ever leave the house?
That's terrible. You don't need that. More intuitive journaling streaks. Yeah, that's what I wanted, was more intuition in my journaling.
Who uses the journal app?
I don't use the journal app. I'm sure it's very good for you, particularly for, what is it they said, how they sold it? Practicing gratefulness? Gratitude. Yeah. More consistent window persistence across external displays. That's a good thing.
On what?
Well, I guess if you're a laptop user like me and you plug your laptop in every day, then everything's shifted. That's a pain in the bum.
Maybe. Or is it your iPad?
Maybe. Updated video podcast experience in macOS. I'm not watching video podcasts through the podcast client.
Nope, same.
Natural language time formats for Chinese and Hindi. Good. Enhanced power efficiency in Safari OS and macOS. I mean, that sounds like something you'd have said 10 years ago. Safari is more efficient.
They're going to keep banging that, aren't they? Because they want it to come out good on the web tests.
Yeah. Drawing app in messages. Why?
I don't know.
Do you remember the drawing app on the watch when the watch came out? You could draw. Nobody used that.
No, agreed. Maybe it's when you're going to have a big phone and maybe it's going to come with a stylus. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't think so. Isn't that called a Samsung Galaxy Edge or Ultra or something?
Note.
Faster data updates in the Health app. Great. Call recording transcription support for traditional Chinese, Japanese, Brazilian, and Portuguese. Great.
All localizations have got to be good, right?
Yeah, definitely. Improved game controller settings. Don't really use a game controller on my Mac, I got to say.
No, but I guess it's good to do more for gaming.
Yeah. Maybe they'll even bring some games to the Mac. That'd be nice. Easier reading and editing of PDFs using VoiceOver. Good. Improved battery insights. Okay. Smoother scrolling in app library. Was that a problem before?
No idea.
Improved navigation in game overlay. Don't use the game overlay. Smoother unlocking on iPhone. Didn't think it was rough. Use your panoramas for environments in Vision OS. Nobody's got a Vision Pro. Faster window closing in iPad OS. Was this a problem we were suffering from?
Not that I knew about, but I'll take any iPad OS updates.
We're finishing this line and then I'm bored. Improved performance in Apple News. Great. Nobody uses Apple News. Edge-to-edge sidebars. That is a good one. That's fair enough. I'm okay with that one.
Edge-to-edge. What does that mean?
Oh, you'd always have a bit of window padding on the edges of your scroll bars. Yeah. Okay. More reliable right to left editing in freeform. Nobody uses freeform. Find offloaded media in messages.
I guess it's for storage, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Oh, if you've offloaded it in storage, but when you go to search, it wouldn't come up.
All options displayed in camera settings. Good. You shouldn't have taken them away.
Yeah, that was idiotic.
Password help accessible from the lock screen. I don't know what to make of that.
No. Some of where they've tried to get this into like 5 words, some of them are really hard to understand.
Yeah, go on, we'll do one more. Group conversation support and shortcuts. I don't need shortcuts or group conversation support. Thank you very much.
Concur.
That is an entirely mystifying thing. New keyboards for languages including Afrikaans, Basque, Barbarian, English, Philippines, Galician, Guarani, Luxembourgish. Is that a language?
Luxembourgish.
Yes. And Xhosa and Zulu. Good.
You pronounce that far better than me.
I don't know if it's right, though. Smoother freeform board performance, improved PlayStation Access controller support. I mean, I'm going to pick out 2 more that I quite like the look of. Faster network file browsing, that's good. The network management and performance of files when you've got a network attached here is dreadful on macOS, so that has to be sorted out. Jeff Geerling talked about this about 2 years ago. And you pointed this out in the keynote, actually. Ethernet status and menu bar in macOS.
I think that's good because I've got my Wi-Fi status and on my Mac it's generally turned off because I use Ethernet. But it'd be great to have Ethernet up there, so I think that is good. But if you close the image that you're looking at, you can scroll down. You can see it by like grouping. I think this is quite good. So like for me, like iPadOS, you've already touched on a few, but apparently it's got faster window switching, persistent menu bar, which is what I wanted, faster file browsing and transfers. Again, something super useful. It says iPhone app resizing, so I think that means I can resize apps smaller than what I used to be able to.
Do you think that could be a folding iPhone confirmed?
Yeah, I don't know. But for me, the iPad's got a couple of things. Nothing major, but just a couple of things. I really wanted clamshell support, but I think they've done some good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, some of these are rubbish. More accurate visited places. Okay, but you know where you visited places in more country? Enhanced flyover. I didn't get that when they showed it in the keynote. I don't understand why anybody wants
it. Looked really good. It did look good, but it's a great demo, but who actually uses it?
This is my point. It's a demo. It's fluff.
And where do you go to activate flyover? I still don't know.
Have you ever used the Maps Park Car widget?
Not the widget, but on the map it does show you where you've parked your car.
I know where I parked my car.
Sometimes I might forget a little bit, like which area of the massive car park is it in.
But that doesn't help if it's in a multi-story. What floor was I on?
No,
2, 3, 4?
True.
So I mean, it's odd. The watch face I've got on my Apple Watch has got my parked car as like this floating in space thing on it. It's completely useless. I don't want it. How do you switch it off?
I've no idea. I think though, on the whole though, what we're saying here is loads of updates. The one that has got me though a little bit bitten is apparently there is improved wireless CarPlay reliability. That has been a nightmare for me. It keeps dropping out. So I worry where I'm running the beta. We're not seeing all of these things yet because they're still in various states.
Of course. And what they showed in the keynote wouldn't be the same beta that we're running now. It'll be as stable as it could be before they, shut it down for.
How are you getting on with the betas?
I've installed it on my iPad, which I don't use, so I can't really comment on that all the way up here. I have Siri on there, and my Mac, which is my Mac laptop that I use for work as much as anything else, and it's been fine. I mean, it's been very stable. Siri is pointless and annoying me. I've tried to stop using Alfred and use Siri instead, but it seems to be wrong a lot of the time.
Oh, okay. I haven't used Siri a huge amount, I must confess. But you know what? My feedback would be I'm loving the new icons. I just think they're nice. They just look way better than last year's ones. Just they're slightly flatter, and I think in a positive way. I'm really enjoying that. I need to play with Siri a little bit more. The camera seems better in that you can see more of the controls, but I don't like where they've put Siri between photo and portrait. Is the Siri button? I don't want it there.
I don't think that'll stay there.
I am hoping it won't stay there. One of the big updates in the weather app, though, is rather than just seeing whether it's hot or cold, you can tap the rain button and it will show you by day as an overview how much rain is coming and wind. And I think that's really good that you can see what that's going to be. But there's just what I think I like is there's just lots of little updates sprinkled everywhere, lots of performance improvements. Again, I've used it a lot on the iPad. I haven't really used my Mac. So I'm just liking all the performance updates, and we generally look forward to Beta 2. The only thing that's broken for me is trying to use my webcam on my secondary display on my iPad. I need to just use Teams on my iPad, but I'm hoping that's a short-term problem that I've got to deal with.
Fair enough. No, I mean, the Mac has been stable. I used it a lot in anger on Thursday and Friday, and nothing crashed on me. I had no performance problems or anything like that. So even running as a beta, it's been fine, which I always tell people don't do. And I'm not installing it on my phone, at least for a while. So I've been quite pleased about that.
And the phone, it's been okay. I think I am more conscious of battery life, just with it as you usually are with a beta. But on the whole, it's been really positive. Oh, and the one we haven't mentioned is on your lock screen on your phone, you can now have a really small clock, which I quite like. But you don't seem to be able to change the font of the clock and the date, or remove the date. But I just quite like that because I don't always want the clock taking up loads of space.
I'm sure that's super helpful.
I just think it's a nice little change.
Fair enough. Real-time follow-up. Tagalog is the basis of the national language of the Philippines. So I was right.
Cool. Good news.
Go me. I remembered something. App of the week?
Yeah, go on then.
So for many years, I have been a massive proponent of Tailscale, which I still think is a terrific app. It's well supported. They have got a great YouTube channel that shows you how to do things. The guy who presents it, whose name completely escapes me for the moment, is really approachable. He's a British fella who just goes through things that you might want to do, like if you wanted to put your Jellyfin server, more accessible to members of your family, how could you use Tailscale to do that when you're at remote locations? So you can stream things, and all that's very good. However, Tailscale is not open source, and even though it's based on the WireGuard protocol, they haven't open sourced a bunch of the stuff around it. I think it's a Canadian company, but lots of the servers are based in the United States, so that's kind of a problem. There is a competitor to Tailscale. It's called NetBird. NetBird is a German company, and they open source everything they do. And at a surface level, it's very like Tailscale. They've got a centralized managed service that you can log machines into. It will create one network out of machines at disparate locations. If you're out and about, you can use it as a VPN of sorts. You can use it as an endpoint. All the sort of things you can do with Tailscale, you can do with NetBird. As I say, however, it is open source, which I think is terrific. There is a free plan with it as well, up to 100 devices and 5 users. I think Tailscale is only 3 users, so 5 users would cope with a family of more. But also, you can actually run it, and even on the web page here at netbird.io, you can run it open source. So if you've got your own VPS and your own domain name endpoint for a small Linux server, you could actually entirely run this yourself through your own hardware and software rather than depending on NetBird to do it for you. I'm not quite there yet. I'm trusting NetBird at the back end to do it, but I'm in the process of shifting all my devices from being on Tailscale to NetBird, and so far it's not been too painful.
That's cool. Always good. I did not know this was a thing. I've only ever really heard about Tailscale, so I did not know that NetBird was a thing, but it sounds good, and I still don't fully understand how this tech works, but it's very clever.
I do understand how it works at one sense. It just gives you another bunch of IP addresses inside of your own kind of VLAN, for want of a better word. But it just uses an open source. Both of them both use WireGuard as its sort of VPN protocol to get back to wherever the centralized point is. And if you use a Unify router, the access technology that is teleport, so if you're connecting to your home device on teleport, which if you've got a Unify travel router is also a thing, that WireGuard, a fundamental underlying VPN technology, is what both NetBird and Tailscale use. It's an open source VPN thing. They're just doing clever stuff at the connection point to string lots of devices together for you on your own network.
All right, okay. It's very clever stuff. So, fair play. It's a good one.
Yep, it's good. It's nice to mess around with these things, and maybe at some point I'll be brave enough to run it myself, but I will say it's quite nice not to have to worry about the back end of it, and also I like the open sourceness of it. Also, I like the Europeanness of it as well, but there you go.
Fair enough.
At some point I might want to talk about my Unified travel router that I may or may not have picked up this week as well, but I'm going to travel first before I come to a conclusion.
Yeah, that's fair. I think when you get in, you're at home, it's like, okay, but when you actually go out and about, it's cool.
Yep. Thing of the week.
So thing of the week I've gone with today is the F1 that happened today. Lewis Hamilton has won his first Ferrari race. It was really good. I thought they'd got it wrong, but it was great, and it was an all-British podium at the end, and Lewis was on the top step, which hasn't been for a couple of years. It just was a really good race. Sadly, there were quite a few people that didn't finish, about 8 out of 22 didn't finish. But yeah, great to see him at the top.
Is that why he finished first? Because one of the front runners crashed out?
Yes and no. So not necessarily one of the front runners, but because there was a safety car at the right time when he needed to pit. He possibly still could have done it without that. Like, he was definitely in the mix before that had happened, but the events just went his way. But yeah, it's just amazing that eight bombed out, which when you're 4, 5, 6 races into a season, when there's new rules, you'd have thought the reliability would be improving, but it definitely didn't feel that way.
So the MotoGP race that was on last weekend, a similar thing happened. One of the second in the championship took out 4 bikes on the first corner.
Wow!
So you ended up, including the championship leader and his teammate. It was a crazy accident. He just went into the first corner far too hot and just skittled. Three of the 4 bikes are Aprilias. He took out 3 of the Aprilias, including his own that he was sat on. So it was an absolutely mental thing to do. And he gets a long lap penalty, a double long lap penalty at the next GP. But same sort of thing. You had a bunch of people up towards the front scoring points that you wouldn't normally expect to do so. So it always makes more interesting racing when that kind of thing happens, no matter what the sport is. And fair play Lewis Hamilton. I know he's been a champion for a number, or has been a winning guy for a long time, and hasn't won in a little bit. So yeah, very good.
Yeah, he's had a good 4 or 5 fallow years, so it's good for him to get back on. No, but it was good, and it livens up for the rest of the year, right? Because you want to see a couple of people going for it rather than just one person out in front.
And always good for the morale of a team like Ferrari that they've won something. You know, they've won a lot in the past. It must be quite good for them.
They've not won for a long time now.
I have seen, I'm sure, a trailer for a Schumacher documentary coming. Is that a thing you're interested in?
Yeah, I'd probably be a bit interested in that, I think, just because it's in my wheelhouse. I wasn't a huge Schumacher fan, but I'd be interested. It's like the Senna documentary. Loved that.
He was a Ferrari driver, though, right?
Yeah. He won like 5 seasons with Ferrari.
Look at me. I do know something about Formula 1.
Who knew?
Who knew? I think we call that a show, Chris.
Yeah, I think so. So if anybody wants to get in contact with us, Rod is at G5Maniac at marston.scott. I am at _CGP at marston.social. You can watch it on YouTube by going to wakefromsleep.com and clicking on the YouTube link. We can drop us an email, wakefromsleep@protonmail.com.
Talk to you next week, Chris.
Cheers, Rod.